Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Construction Specifiers Democast on redefining rooftop storm and hail resistance with DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Boards by Georgia Pacific. My name is Nitya, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. Before I introduce the speakers, please note your mics are muted. It would be best if you turn on the speaker view. That said, if you have any questions for our speaker, feel free to post them in the Q&A forum. We will address as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. If you have any connectivity or Zoom-related questions, you can use the chat feature to communicate with us, and we'll do our best to help you. Today's presentation is being recorded. It will be available on the Construction Specifiers website, so you can access it whenever you need to. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker. David Allor, CDT, is Building Envelope Manager at Georgia Pacific. In today's presentation, David will explain Georgia Pacific's newest product, DensDeck Prime StormX Roof Boards. With that, I'll turn things over to David.
Thank you, Nithya. And on behalf of my colleague, Michael Kironen, our Director of Product Management, who will be joining me today, Michael, hello. We'd like to thank you, and we are proud and honored to have this opportunity to introduce yet another innovative new product from Georgia Pacific Gypsum. Today is really part two of our discussion on DensDeck. Why use cover boards? I kind of thought of a theme for today, and it sounds like this: when the going gets tough, the tough get going tour. In part one of our discussion of cover board usage, we highlighted its ability to preserve and protect the commercial roof system. When surveyed, consultants and contractors all said that by using a commercial cover board, you're able to extend the overall life cycle of the commercial roof up to 7 years. We then turn that 7-year gain of life cycle into an ROI for the building owner. By extending the life cycle of the roof up to 7 years, you're saving the building owner on annual maintenance and repair costs over the cost of the roof, and you're also protecting them from costly downtime associated with any roof leaks. So today we turn our attention to a very new, very severe hail factory mutual performance requirement. And we ask ourselves, where did this new requirement come from? Weather is playing an increasing role in our duty to design resilient structures. What we're looking at here in front of us is a chart showing the frequency of $1 billion disaster events in the US from the years ranging 1980 all the way up to 2019. This weather is compiled by the NCDC and the NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. And as you can see, the slide illustrates the average number of $1 billion disasters per year is increasing in frequency. Looking at the left side of the chart, we look in 10-year ranges, but then on the right side, we break it down into 5-year increments, noticing a severe increase, an upward trend in 1 billion or more disasters per year in the United States. Another good website to look at for weather-related issues and their impact on commercial roofing is RCAWI, the Roofing Institute Committee on Weather Issues.org, rcawi.org. So if we have increased weather events affecting our roof systems, what does this mean in terms of insurance dollars or commercial losses? It's interesting to note that over the past 70 years, SCS storms or severe convective storms, those producing hail, the losses from these storms is rivaling tropical systems. $327 billion for SCS storms versus $350 billion for tropical systems. That's pretty impressive. This upward trend, starting in the late 1980s, has relatively been consistent for the past 20 years. Hail seems to be here to stay. Since 2008, annual SCS losses, storms producing hail, have consistently exceeded $10 billion. So as you can see, hail damage is costing us tremendous dollars in insurance money, but also lost business associated with those losses. Records in the year 2008 would be considered relatively benign according to today's standards and numbers. So what does this mean, and what are we to do in reply to this growing environmental concern. We obviously need new product selection opportunities within our master format Division 7. Because the question has now become, how can we preserve the commercial rooftop? Preserve it so that it can hold tough and be resilient under today's severe weather conditions. And don't forget, as in part 1, we discussed other demands, added demands that are being placed on the commercial rooftop. And we'll discuss these more in later slides. Best practices using cover boards, as I alluded to earlier, when surveyed, 95% of consultants and 70% of roofers all recognize that by using cover boards, single-ply roof expectancy can grow to 6 or 7 years. This was conducted by Ducker Associates, and in addition, professional roofing consultants told us that they're beginning to mitigate their concerns with the long-term durability of their commercial roof systems by specifying more cover boards, specifically specifying cover boards with single membrane systems. This slide tells a lot, the overall value of a cover board. It's interesting to note that in relation to the rooftop itself, cover board is 15% of the roof material cost and about 10% of the overall cost, labor and materials included. Now, in relationship to the entire building, roof accounts for only 5% of the total building cost. But when looked at in terms of the capital expenditures required to correct problems with the building post-construction, that 5% of building cost represents 77% of the problems we're correcting. And of that, more than 50% of all post-construction litigation stems from the roof system. So for something having such a small cost, spending a little more money on a good roof will save a lot in future construction-related headaches. Does this seem directionally correct to you? These are things that my father would call cheap insurance. A little shout out to my mom and dad in Aiken, South Carolina. So it's always been about mitigating risk from common sources. And in part 1, we reviewed gypsum's natural ability to resist fire. It's being used in high-risk fire areas these days. And of course, the advent of the solar craze and the solar voltaic systems, it's taking on a whole new fire resistance feature for itself. Of course, gypsum is known most for its moisture resistance. Moisture built up in the roof system during construction, leaks throughout its life cycle, or condensation from interior vapor drive. We know that the use of a cover board will help protect the roof from the damaging uplift forces that wind causes on the commercial rooftop. It'll allow you to preserve insulation by protecting underlying insulation from foot traffic, which will crush the insulation and rob it from its insulating capability. By preserving the insulation capability of insulation, you're able to save it on re-roofing installations, saving a tremendous amount of cost and sustainability. And we also know future solar considerations in terms of the added weight and future demands placed on a commercial roof assembly. And today, we're turning our attention to puncture and hail resistance. Cover boards protect amongst all things, and a statistic that's interesting to note that foot traffic, something common to all commercial roofs, has really taken on an added uptick here. It's estimated that 68%, call it 70% of all commercial roof assemblies have some sort of mechanical equipment on them. I mean, this has done nothing but increase throughout the years, resulting in literally millions of square feet of photovoltaics and HVAC, air handling units. All of this added rooftop equipment carries with it service and repair technicians that bring up tools, testing equipment, etc. All of it is capable of creating trauma to the roof. So really, this increase in foot traffic has grown exponentially, and the damage and the potential damage that it can cause has grown just along with it. And protecting and preserving the roof system with a rigid gypsum cover board is just the trick. Of course, hail, protecting against hail. Using a hail-resistant board will resist this damage and also the damage that it may cause to underlying insulation. And then alluded to earlier, roof assemblies with HVAC systems and PV systems, they call for heavy equipment and they need a solid substrate to withstand this extra weight. If you think about it, our roof systems were designed and installed originally to protect the building from wind and rain, And as the demands of the rooftop have grown, they really now are solid platforms to be mounting all of this equipment and to carry all of this added foot traffic. But let's just keep our eyes on hail. What do we see in front of us? We see a map released by Factory Mutual in 2018 that defines their hail severity zones. And as you can see, they're broken down by moderate, severe, and then very severe hail zones. The center part of our country with the highest hail requirements are now the VHS rating, which was introduced by Factory Mutual in 2018. You can see the list of states there on the right that are now included in this very severe hail zone. Now, with this new performance requirement, of course, comes new testing methods. And this is where the fun really begins. This slide shows us graphically the difference in hailstone size. When categorized moderately, we're looking at a hailstone smaller than a quarter, or about 1 3/4 inches in diameter. When we move up to severe, you're looking at a hailstone about the size of a golf ball, 1 3/4 to 2 inch. And very severe hail is now categorized as having hailstones 2 inches or larger, represented here by the old magic 8-ball. Now, for moderate and severe hail, FM Global tests their roof systems by dropping a 2-inch diameter, that's a 1.19 pound steel ball. They drop this ball onto the testing assembly from either 81 inches, which is roughly 6'9" inches, or 6'9" feet, excuse me, or 141 inches, which is almost 12 feet high, respectively. So for moderate hail, they're dropping that 1.19 steel ball from about 6'9", and for severe hail from about 12 feet high. This applies an energy to the test surface of approximately 8 foot-pounds for medium hail and 14 foot-pounds for severe hail. Now, how about the test for very severe assemblies? This is where it gets fun. Before we proceed, we'd like to thank our partners from Sarnafil for giving us the permission to use their very severe hail test video, which we're about ready to see. So instead of dropping a 1.19 pound ball from either 6'9" or 12 feet high, we introduced DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Board. And why are we using DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Board? This video from Sarnafil ought to illustrate.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
I apologize, folks. Again, thank you to Sarnafil. What you're going to be looking now at a very severe hail test from their Sarnafil Research and Discovery Center. There it is, the 2-inch ice ball. Engineer is now loading the ice ball into an air pressure cannon. And don't blink, because there it is. A 2-inch ice ball fired at approximately 110 miles an hour at an assembly that's been put into a freezer with PVC membrane mounted on top of rigid gypsum cover board, on top of ISO. The test rack is now coming out of the assembly, and we're going to be dissecting with a reciprocal saw to inspect for signs of damage from a 2-inch ice ball being hurled at this assembly at 4 times the energy that the current moderate and severe hail requires of the assembly, 4 times the energy. And as you can see, the PVC membrane is unaffected by the test, and looking a little deeper, so too is the rigid gypsum cover board. Georgia Pacific's new DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Board is approved for use in assemblies that meet these rigid standards for impact resistance. And again, we thank our partners for Sarnafil for allowing us to use this video. Let's see if this goes a little smoother. I'm going to stop sharing there, and I'm going to start sharing there. And I'm going to go from my current slide. There we go. Are we seeing our value proposition slide, Nithya?
Yes, David.
All righty. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience, folks. So our stated value proposition from corporate is DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Board offers a high-performance product, classified by FM Global for very severe hail assemblies. The new hail standard for FM property loss prevention data sheet 1-34. All of it reducing the risk of roof damage and enhancing assembly protection. We're building on a 30-year history of innovation. Georgia Pacific Gypsum introduced 30 years ago the first ever glass mat gypsum roof board, introduced to protect the roof assembly from fire, moisture, wind uplift. It's highly versatile and has a non-warping substrate for single-ply membranes. It was designed to solve problems, and I'll be darned it did just that. Building on a legacy, everybody loves a good timeline. For the past 30 years, this is what we've been hard at work at. Michael Kironen and his colleagues introducing DensDeck Roof Board in 1987 as the first glass mat gypsum roof board. In 1994, we introduced a 1/4-inch DensDeck, which was commonly used as a cover board as the first time in commercial roofing. In 2001, we launched DensDeck Prime Roof Board, which was the first ever coated mass glass board with an improved adhesive coverage for adhered systems. In 2013, we introduced DensDeck Prime Mat innovation. This improved the pre-coated mat, which required less adhesive and produced a stronger bond. And in 2018, proud to introduce the DensDeck Prime with ionic technology, which enabled us to double the moisture resistance in the product and also improve the mat to core bond on both the top and the bottom of the board. And now here we are in 2020 launching DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Board for FM Global approved very severe roof assemblies. If you looked at this graphically, starting in 1987, we had DensDeck Roof Board introduced with its fire, mold, and moisture resistance. Bringing aboard DensDeck Roof with ionic technology, we were able to improve that moisture resistance and add some very severe hail approvals using multiple multi-ply systems, okay? The DensDeck was approved for very severe hail only with multi-ply systems, mod bit, BUR, things of that nature. Bringing in DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Board, we now extend the entire performance chart into very severe hail for single-ply bareback membranes. So we've come a long way over the past 30 years. StormX continues on an innovation we started 30 years ago by bringing a new product that continues on that innovation in 2018 with Prime and Ionic, bringing a double moisture resistance versus ASTM and our competitive products. It's a solution that provides a conventional roofing solution to the industry to meet this new, demanding very severe hail classification standard. It's not wood or organic, it's non-combustible, and it has thousands of FM approvals for bareback single-ply membranes, as my colleague Mike will highlight in some slides coming forward. All of this while maintaining that important versatility for designers, a wide use of applications for DensDeck StormX, just as in DensDeck Prime. All membrane types, all installation methods, and all benefits the DensDeck Prime with enhanced strength. The product specifications, I've highlighted some of the more notable ones. Of course, specified and approved for FM very severe hail classified roof assemblies, only available in a thickness of 5/8 of an inch. StormX is only available in 5/8 of an inch. Each 4x8 board, or square foot, I should say, weighs about 3 pounds. So it's a little heavier than the DensDeck Prime board. And of course, carrying with it its water and surface water absorption rates as well. In terms of the warranty, all things are the same as in DensDeck Prime. It has the same 90-day parapet warranty and a 2-year from the date of manufacturer's product warranty. And it's also able to be exposed on the parapet wall for up to 3 months from the date of installation. So nothing with regards to the warranty from Georgia Pacific has changed on this product. Again, in order to really appreciate where you are today, sometimes it's helpful to remind yourself of where you were yesterday. And this slide shows us that before rigid gypsum board and before StormX from Georgia Pacific, when it came to very severe hail assemblies, the only product available to us was an OSB roof board. And it did not have any of the thermal barrier capabilities, wasn't able to be used as a recovery board. didn't have the moisture protection, didn't have the fire protection, and was only able to be used for very severe hail assemblies with multiply systems, okay? But DensDeck StormX Roof Board, as you can see, is tested and FM approved for very severe hail with 60 mil bareback TPO membrane. The first roof board approved for the use of 60 mil bareback. And I see Michael Curonen coming in. Do you have something to add to this, Michael?
No, I was just coming in for the next slide, and I know we're running short on time.
Exactly, we are. So we have, Michael just noted before the presentation, 3,000 roof nav approvals using StormX. So I'm going to turn the next 3 slides over to Michael, where he'll be able to show us the impact we've had as a company introducing StormX, the impact we've had to the architect and specifier and to the industry at whole. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, David. So just wanted to give a quick view of what approvals were out there for single-ply systems with a cover board prior to the introduction of StormX. You can see that was mostly wood-based products, cellulose-based products, all of them organic materials, none of them non-combustible. And you can see the breakout across manufacturers. Everybody had a few. Dave, if you go to the next slide, you can see the impact now of now that we brought StormX, DensDeck StormX Prime into the marketplace. We have now increased the number of approvals for single-ply systems with cover boards by 5 to 6x, where we've got right around 3,000 approvals now for single-ply systems. And you can see there's a large breakout of different manufacturers and different membrane types. So you've got PVC and TPO and KE all represented there among the single-ply manufacturers. So if you go to the next slide. And then just to show what Dave was talking about, that prior to StormX, there really wasn't any systems or very few systems that were approved for use that were 60 mil bareback systems, and now there are close to 2,000 with the StormX product. And then we just also wanted to point out that there are, for multiply systems, there are other gypsum cover boards and some DensDeck Prime approvals. So there's other approvals out there for multiply systems as well. So just want to touch on that real quick. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. So we're here for a summary. The DensDeck StormX Prime Roof Board is the first gypsum cover board to get an FM approval in single-ply VHF system with 60 mil bareback membrane, as Michael just said. This will meet or exceed all DensDeck Prime Roof Board product attributes, including our Ionic technology. This proprietary formulation is used to reinforce the board for increased durability without giving up the benefits of DensDeck Prime Roof Board. And we want you to specify this in any situation where you need additional resistance or impact due to foot traffic or wind uplift, but especially in very severe hail zones. We'd like to thank you and invite you to go to DensDeckStormX.com, where you will be able to find 3-part CSI formatted guide specs, installation guides, as well as everything else you'll need to include StormX roof board in your master spec. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you, Nithya.
Thank you, David and Michael. We now have some time for questions. So if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A forum, and either David or Michael would answer them. The first question, David, is, one of your presentations, you spoke about cost. So the question is that has the $1 billion cost been adjusted to account for inflation?
On those earlier statistics, yes.
Yes.
That was a NOAA report that was adjusted for inflation. And part of the reason why the costs are going up so much is because we've got a lot more people living in a lot of these places, and the buildings are, worth a lot more than they were back then. So yes, adjusted for inflation.
Thank you, Michael. The next question is, can one use 2 layers of the cover board for a project with an exposed mill building ceiling on the bottom, and again, just under the membrane?
So it sounds like a thermal barrier and a cover board application. Not sure about the mill building comment, but in general, from a design perspective, yes, this product could be used as a thermal barrier as well as a cover board.
Thank you, Michael. And the next question is, what is the status of the product approvals within roofing system in Florida?
We are currently going through Florida building code approvals as we speak right now, and doing testing in Florida. So we are in the process of that right now.
Okay, thank you for the update. The next question, do roofing adhesive application rates change when you use StormX?
No, roofing application adhesive rates will be the same as they are with DensDeck Prime.
Okay. And the next question, can StormX be used as a substrate within roof drain sumps?
Yes, absolutely. Roof drain
Okay.
sumps, yeah, as you would any other same application, that you would use DensDeck Prime.
Okay. And the next question, is StormX Prime Roof Board available now for use? I mean, to buy?
Yes, it is. StormX is available through all the major roof system manufacturers that carry the FM Very Severe Hail approval in RoofNav, and that's the best way to acquire the product.
Thank you, David. And the next question is, where could I find your submittal form or other product literature for StormX?
Sure, they can go to DensDeckStormX.com. That'll bring them to the website, and they can look for product literature and look for technical literature, and you will find all the submittal forms and 3-part guide specs and everything you need in that section.
Thank you. The next question is, can you elaborate on cover and recover board? Why do you use in both locations? I mean, what are the benefits?
So yeah, we're talking a little bit about kind of a more general cover board sort of stuff, but
Yes.
recover boards would be when you're generally putting a second roof system on, and that's used as a firm foundation for building your second roof, whereas a cover board is there at the top of the assembly, and it's protecting your waterproofing membrane as well as your insulation beneath the cover board.
Thank you. The next question is, does the StormX have a top and bottom side, or is it interchangeable?
It does have a top and bottom side. As with all of our roofing products, there is a top side and a bottom side.
That's clearly printed on the facer of the product, correct, Michael?
It is.
Okay. Thank you, David and Michael. The next question, are any other roofing manufacturers in testing with StormX for approvals at Factory Mutual?
Yes, there are several manufacturers that are currently testing at Factory Mutual with the product.
Okay, thank you. The next question, did all major roofing manufacturers agree to accept this product to cover them in roof manufacturer's 30-year NDL warranty?
I can't comment on all the roof manufacturers' warranty.
Understandable. I mean, it's still in progress.
Our pie chart slides certainly illustrated industry adoption and acceptance, but beyond that, yes.
For sure, understandable. The next question is there a published R value for the 5/8-inch thickness, 5 by 8-inch thickness?
There is a published value. It's on our website. It's the same as the current 5/8-inch DensDeck Prime, which is very minimal for R value contribution.
Thank you. Does StormX include ionic technology?
StormX does include ionic technology and has the same moisture resistance benefits and matte to core bond benefits that ionic technology gives to DensDeck Prime. Thank you.
I'm just going to wait for a couple of seconds to see if somebody else has any other questions. And thank you for correcting. It's ionic.
It's tomato or tomato, but we like to say ionic.
Okay, and this would probably be the last question, David and Michael. Have studies been conducted on residential roof assemblies?
Good question.
We have not. That's an interesting question, but we know that some of our testing partners are doing some work with residential, and but we have not tested this product in residential yet.
Okay. Thank you so much, David and Michael, for joining us today and explaining your latest product. A recording of the democast will be available 1 week from now. We will also send a link to the recording via email to all registrants. Thanks to everyone who attended. Before you go, please take a few minutes to give us your feedback by completing our survey. It should appear in your browser after you close Zoom. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.
Thank you, Ms. Nithya.
Thank you.